right, welcome back for another episode of Chasing Ghosts. This is the video series where I talk about those hard to find, those impossible to find, those really, really tough books that you got to do some digging, some legwork, some research, some searching high and low to find some of these hard to find comics. I had to take off last week again because I wasn't feeling well and fell behind on some of my materials, but I am back and I've got plenty of books to go over for you. Again, we are introducing memberships to the channel, so please, if you're interested, go check it out as we're giving away a lot of fun stuff that go with those different memberships from some maybe possibly some monthly hangouts where you're going to hang out with me and some of the crew where we just chat and offline, not anything to be put on as a show, just chat offline about whatever topics you guys want to talk about, whether it be comics, pop culture, movies, tier listing type stuff, ideas you might want to share, things you want to see for the channel. Get a direct message to me, and that'll be a way for you to do so. And then also with the S tier, you'll be able to get yourself some cool t-shirts that I like to design, like this one that I made based off of Darth Lopez's comment where he was like, yeah, I want an S, he wants a tier list shirt. And I said, you know what? I'm just going to make this for fun. Send him one. I made one for myself. So I got my tack show, tier list, soda tier list show. And if you want to see what this is, I mean, apart from that, we do have the whole tier list there on the back as well. So it is a front and back. So that's the kind of thing I like to do. More fun stuff. So that's what the memberships is all about. It's not about me making money. This is my hobby. This is my passion. This is what I love to do. All the proceeds are going to go back into the channel to make sure we can keep up the high quality that we have here, as well as give some more stuff back to you guys with some giveaways and things like the t-shirts, some comics possibly, maybe some pint glasses, some hats. I don't know. I have a lot of crazy ideas. We'll see what we do. We'll see what we can get to. It's all kind of new to me as well, so we'll learn together as we go through this journey. So keeping this community together. Hopefully you're on board. Let me know what you think in the comments. Please like, subscribe, hit the alert button so you don't miss anything. Keep telling your friends so we can keep growing this channel. And we're getting closer and closer to 2K, where I will be doing another giveaway for that. And we are doing a giveaway for Hidden Gems this week. So make sure you go check out yesterday's Hidden Gems to find out how to enter that to get yourself a free comic book, free J. Scott Campbell Catwoman that I'm giving away. Very simple, but go check out the video to see what you need to do there. And if you want to see this week's potential ghosts, just hang on for a few seconds after the intro, and I will be right back with this week's books. All right, so what do we got for you guys this week? This week, kind of focused in this week a lot on Marvel books. Basically, two titles kind of caught my interest, or two topics, I guess. And the first being Miles Morales. And we're going to start with this 2019 series from Miles Morales, as this issue 1. This is a 1 in 50. 1 in 50 by Lee Garbett. December 2018 is when it came out. High ratio incentive. A lot of places list this as hard to find. So let's take a look. How hard to find is this? Estimated print run on that issue 1 was a decent 57,000 plus. So this 1 in 50 incentive is only going to have about 1,100 copies thereabouts. Again, these are estimated numbers based off of the information available to us. There's not concrete numbers. We don't have concrete numbers, just our best guess based on what's available. So take this for what it is. As we also like to do, I'm going to show you the CGC census so you know how many are there. 126 in the census. So this is a decent amount, I would think, submitted for this book, with 96 9/8s and only 19 9/6s and then a few others. But 126 is a solid number for a book this new when you think about it. But then again, we are in an era where everybody likes to get things slabbed. So there's a lot more slabs these days than there were in 2015, 2016, some of those older variants, the 2010 variants, things like that. So I guess that has to also be factored in. What does this thing sell for? Well, this thing has sold pretty well. Again, you can see a lot of you saying very hard to find on these listings. $270 raw for this 1 in 50. Some 9/8 selling for $500, $550. One sold for $800 way back in April. some decent amounts, some solid prices on this particular book. I like this cover. It's pretty cool. I love the colors. I love the empty negative white space there in between. I dig it. It's a pretty cool image. It reminds me of that David Aja Spider-Gwen variant. I think it was the STC thing. But anyway, pretty cool cover. But how hard to find is it? Is it a ghost? I don't know, because there are copies out there. They're just pricey. Granted, that one still has 6 days to go. When I'm filming this on Sunday, so that still has 6 days to go, and it's only at $5.50. I'm watching it. I'll probably throw a bid down on it, but I'm sure you guys are going to outbid me. But that said, there are some 9/8s asking $550, $700, $720. So a lot of graded copies. Those graded copies are out there, and they're pretty expensive. So there are more. That's not all the copies. There are a couple more, but that's the examples I wanted to provide you. And yeah, so there are copies. So I don't know how hard to find this one actually is. It's not easy to find. Don't get me wrong. But I don't know if we can call this one a ghost, considering there are multiple copies available right now if you want it. You just got to pay for them. They're just expensive. It's okay for a book to be hard to find and expensive, but I won't call this one a ghost. But getting ahead of myself. We'll usually do that at the end, but we're doing that right here. And the reason why I did actually kind of hone in on Miles was because actually the next book. And the next book's the book I had. I bought it when it came out. This is a 1 in 25, whereas that last one was a 1 in 50. This is a 1 in 25. It's got the Stanley, Stanley, rest in peace, kind of like the little memorial tab, the bar across the top there. So that whole month they had the Stanley on there. But this is the Santa Takeda. I'm butchering her name. I know I am. But it's 1 in 25 from January 2019 for issue 2 of this Miles Morales run. And again, I think I bought this from Midtown maybe for like $20. It was under ratio at the time because that's what I was buying, under ratio variants from Midtown if I liked them. And I liked Monstrous, and I liked the cover art here, so I bought it. Come to find years later, I still owned it, and this one got pricey. But I'm getting ahead of myself. So as you might have guessed, I did sell this one. But estimated print run on this one was down to about 34,000. So the incentive is still a decent 1,300 copies for this particular one, because it's only 1 in 25. It's not a 1 in 50 like the last one. In the census, however, there are not nearly as many copies. There's only 27 in the census for this one. 16 9/8, 7 9/6s, and a few others. And then, as I mentioned, copies have sold over the last few months. 200, 240, 225, including that one right there. Best offer in 225. The accepted $170. I can tell you that with absolute certainty because that was me. I sold that one. I just said, yeah, I'll take the 170 for it because, like I told you, I bought it years ago for 20, and I do like it, but I just couldn't say no to that price. So out it went. Hopefully whoever bought it is enjoying it right now in their collection, as I did sell it to them for cheaper than everybody else. So just keep that in mind as well. I mean, sometimes that's what you got to do. It was a profit to me, so I'm happy to do it. Moving on, though, there are copies still out there. So I don't know how hard to find it is. Granted, they're still pricey. They're still asking $220 to $240. And then you got $800 9/8. And what is that 9/0? $240 for a 9/0. It's definitely not a cheap book, and there's still a couple of more copies as well. These are just examples that I picked. So 1,300 copies, they're out there. They're out there. So this one's not impossible to find. Might be hard to find and expensive. Again, the qualification here on this one. But I had one, but sadly had to let it go because the price just reached a point where I just can't say no to that personally. That said, let's move on to issue 3 and the last one we're going to do for this run. So issue 3, this is a Dan Panosian cover. You got Cap in the back. You got Rhino chasing after Miles. This is going back to being a 1 in 50, actually, which is kind of surprising. Usually they don't do that. Usually the ratios get lower because print runs decrease, so they make the incentives a little easier to accommodate that. But February 2019, no, they went back to a 1 in 50. And with 35,000 printed of this one, that incentive is potentially only just over 700. So not, definitely a small amount. CGC census has about 22. 21 of them are 9/8s and then 1 9/6. And that's it. So all of them are basically 9/8s that are actually submitted on this particular book. And this book sells for $350 for the 9/8. So, it's not too bad. It's not as high as the last book or the book or issue 1 either, but it's still a decent amount for the book that's actually the lowest printed potentially of all 3. And there are still copies available. Not a lot. Again, not a lot. This one I can only find 3, but raw 80 to 90 bucks and 500 bucks for a 9.8 is what I could find out there right now. So there's still 3 on the market at the time that I'm filming this. So yeah, if you're interested, there you go. Those are your options. Kind of sticking with Miles. Well, not sticking with Miles, but kind of sticking with Spider-Man, I should say. Just a random Spider-Man book that I'm throwing in here. Ultimate Spider-Man, issue 150. Yes, this is Ultimate, Peter Parker. This is not Miles, but J. Scott Campbell, pretty cool cover. This is a 1 in 25 incentive from November of 2010. So this goes back a ways. And like I said, this is not one you see all that often. Not a lot of people talk about this one. But I thought it was interesting and figured 40,000 print run. The incentive's still a solid 1,600 potential copies of this out there. So let's just look into the numbers a little bit deeper. CGC Census has only 78, so still less than some of those other books, but still more than some of the than some. Like it's kind of in between. So with 78, you got 44 9/8s, 24 9/6s, and then a few others. Copies of this book actually sell for about 40, 70 bucks at auction for both of those. That's kind of an interesting take. I mean, who knows how long a buy it now would potentially sit on a book like this, but that is what has sold recently. So 40 to 70 for this 1 in 25. Whereas the asking prices, there are copies out there. Again, not a ton. There's a few more than what I have listed here, but 9.8 asking 175, and 9.6 asking 130. Signature Series 9.6 wants 225, and then there's one at auction. It's only at 99 cents with a few days left. So who knows where that will end? Maybe it'll end in that $40 to $70 range as the other two. Maybe it'll be less. Maybe it'll be more. Who knows? It's at auction, so we will see. But point being, there are copies available. All right, and that's going to wrap us up with my little bit of a Spidey portion for today's Ghosts. And we're going to shift over to Guardians of the Galaxy. We're going to start here with this issue 2. We're going to skip over issue 1 where there's a Manara cover with, I believe, Gamora. But we're going to skip right over to issue 2. Joe Quesada. This is, I believe, the 1 in 100. And then there's also a 1 in 150. Both high incentive ratios and both well worth covering, but we're not actually going to dig into either of those two. Why? Well, because there's a 1 in 200 as well. So let's just jump right to the 1 in 200. And this is the Joe Mad cover. I am a big fan of Joe Mad, and I do want this cover for my collection, but let's see how hard this one is to find. 1 in 200, April 2013. Guardians of the Galaxy issue 2. Print run was a healthy 88,000. But that still means this 1 in 200, there might only be 440 potential copies of this out there. So definitely going to be tough. Definitely going to be tough. I do like this cover. I do want it. Let's see. Let's see if I can find one. I'll tell you, I haven't found one yet. So I'm still looking, but let's see what's out there. CGC Census on this one has 47 copies, 27 9/8s, 14 9/6s, and a couple of others. None have sold recently, so none have sold, so I don't know what the market might be, and I do want it. So let's see, can I buy any out there? Are there any out there? There are, and there are 2, but it's kind of pricey. 230 bucks raw for this, which is over ratio. I mean, 1 to 200 ratio is pretty steep, and $230, I'm not saying that's an off the wall price. It's like I said, it's just over ratio. It's probably pretty close. I just don't think I can spend that right now. Nor can I spend $600 from the 9.8. It's just not in my budget at this moment, but who knows? Maybe one day I will have the cash and the interest will be just as high, and I will just, pull the trigger on impulse. It's happened before. But for now, I'm just going to keep looking, keep hunting for this 1 in 200 because it's cool, but I just can't do 230. But it's there. If anybody else is interested, it's out there for this 1 in 200. But sticking with Guardians, we're going to go to the next issue, issue 3. This is not going to be a 1 in 200, and this is a 1 in 100, I believe, by Ed McGuinness. So it has a little bit of a similar vibe to Joe Mad, but it's not quite the same. A little bit different. This is June of 2013. Print run dips a tiny bit to 75,000. So this 1 in 100 is going to be 756 copies. So that's an easy bit of math we can do there. CGC Census on this only has 14. 12 9/8s and 2 9/6s total, it looks like. So for this Ed McGuinness cover, not a lot in the census. But just like the Joe Mad cover, none have sold within the last 3 months for me to get that kind of previous market price. So we don't know if the asking prices are on point or not. But currently, there are a few out there for different values. As cheap as $23, $23.99, I should say, plus shipping, 65, 26 plus shipping out of the UK. So anywhere from under 30 to just about $70 for this 1 in 100. Interesting. And that's going to be the key with some of these Guardians books. Yes, the print runs are kind of high. There are copies available, but does that mean these ratio prices should be as low as they are? I don't know. That's your call. It's my call to make. I'm curious. I'm interested. I don't know if I'm buying it, but I'm interested. I'm looking. And there's going to be a couple more like that coming up, including the next issue, issue 4. This one's kind of interesting because we have a couple of variants, but we'll start here. This issue 4. This is a 1 in 50. So the ratio went down a little bit. This is a 1 in 50. Addy Granoff. I'm a Granoff fan. I like this cover. I like the Star-Lord. Interesting take. It looks kind of like a Nova to me, but this is a Star-Lord. June of 2013 on this issue 4. Print run was about the same, around 70,000, 71,000, but the incentive being a 1 in 50 instead of a 1 in 100 means it's going to be about 1,400 copies potentially of this book. Now, what's in the census for this one? This one only has 18 out of that in the census, and more to come on that in a minute. But 15 9/8s and 3 9/4s for whatever reason. No 9/6s. But much like the other two, none have sold within the last 3 months. But there are copies available if you wish to purchase them. 4 copies that I could find as cheap as $30. Then there's 124, but with $30 shipping out of the UK. And then there's a lot of issue 3 and issue 4 asking $135. Like, it's as cheap as $30 plus shipping. So that's under ratio at 1 in 50. That's under ratio for this book. But I don't know if that's a good price or not, considering there's potentially 1,400 copies when you do the math. But the problem I struggle with, and I don't know this for certain, if you know the answer to this question, please let me know in the comments. Let me know in the live chat if you're here in the live chat. But this book actually had 2 1 in 50 incentive variants. This was the first one. Then there was also a J. Scott Campbell. That was also for issue 4 and also a 1 in 50. So I don't know if stores, if they order 50 copies, did they pick like which one of these 2 they want? Did they get one of each? I don't know how that works personally, because I'm not a dealer. I don't have a Diamond account. I don't order like that. So I don't know how this would have played out if there were 2 1 in 50s. I guess they could potentially order one of each if they wanted to, but did they? Who knows? But this is definitely the more sought after of the 2 because it's Campbell and it's a Gamora. Pretty cool Gamora, too, by the way. And I could see it. I want one of these as well. I don't have it, but I still want one. It's a 1 in 50. J. Scott Campbell, again, same month, same stats are going to be the same here with the print run and the incentive that I can potentially guess at because, well, those are the numbers. However, there's a lot more in the census for this one. There's 257 graded copies of this with 174 9/8s, 55 9/6s, 29 4s, and a couple of others. So 257 graded for this one, as opposed to what was it, 18? Definitely, the balances are shifted to one side on this one. So again, I don't know if it's because there's no copies for the other one because everybody wanted the Campbell. I didn't know if they had to choose. Again, I just don't know. If you know, tell me. Let me know, please. Let us all know. But copies of this one have sold for about $500 when you look at it. Both of those are CGC Signature Series 9/8s. Well, that was a tongue twister. But yeah, about $500 for that. It's no small number. And Campbell's signature is not hard to get. He's at most cons, so it's a signature you can obtain pretty easily if you do put some legwork in, I guess. But then asking prices, all graded. I couldn't find any raw copies out there to give you that sense, but graded copies. There's a 9/8, but as a CBCS 9/8, only asking $324, whereas a 9/6 CGC is anywhere from $275 to $310. So it's just showing you the discrepancy between CGC prices and CBCS prices still. Right or wrong, that's what it is. You're just going to get more for a CGC book than you will a CBCS. It is what it is. That said, that was issue 4. So let's move this on to issue number 5. Yeah, I know I'm running through the Guardians, and these next 3 also kind of go together. So I'll kind of speed this up a tiny bit, but I dig these. I like the throwback look of these. It looks like an old school, like a kind of like an Atomic Age, almost like I don't know. It's pretty cool. I like these. Guardians of the Galaxy, number 5. This is also a 1 in 50 by Paulo Rivera. July 2013 on this one. Print run is about 110,000 on this. This is when Angela was coming in to the team, so print runs jumped at this time. So this incentive, even though it's a 1 in 50, still has a healthy 2,207 potential copies out there. So that high number is probably why prices are going to be where they're at, which I know I'm getting ahead of myself, but 24 in the census for this one, 18,980 and a few others. Sale prices on this, like I said, it's sold for as cheap as $17.50 or as high as $75 raw and more. These are just a couple examples, but like $20 to $70 for this 1 in 50. Prices are kind of all over the place. So under and over ratio, equally moving. And asking prices, again, there are a few out there asking as little as $35 to $50 or $300 for a 9.8 for this 1 in 50. And that's the story kind of like for the next couple, because these all have a similar look. That was issue 5. Here's issue 6 with another one of these throwback covers. That's also a 1 in 50 by Paulo Rivera. And again, print run's pretty close. Well, print run dips here. Print run's down to 70,000 on this one. So the incentive's only about 1,300 as opposed to 2,200. But that doesn't seem to change the prices on this. Despite only 11 in the census with 4 9.8s, 4 9.6s, and 3 9.4s. The sold price on this was only about best offer $35. So what are you going to guess? $25, $30 maybe? So consider this a 1 in 50. That's definitely under ratio either way. And asking prices on this as well, asking as little as 26, 35 for that with a regular cover, and $30. Like, it's definitely under ratio here as well, with more copies than what I'm showing here. And it continues for issue 7. Again, this one has a purple cover, but a cool, again, throwback look. I wouldn't mind having all 3 of these together. Paulo Rivera, 1 in 50. Story's the same. Story is the same. Print run is about the same as the last issue, so the incentive's about the same, about 1,300 or so. CGC census only has 8 with 5 9.8s and 3 9.6s. No copies have sold of this one, however. So I don't know, but I would guess if it did, they'd probably be around that $30 range, because that seems to be the going rate for these things. Granted, the asking here is 35 to 40, but 30 to $40 still all under ratio is all we're looking at here. And yeah, take that what it is for what it is. But still, I think they're pretty cool covers and wouldn't mind adding them to my collection. I'm thinking about it, hemming and hawing. Maybe if I can get a deal, if I find one that has all 3, maybe we'll see what happens. That said, only got a couple of more books. I know, we're talking a lot of Guardians here, but that's kind of the rabbit hole I fell down when I was doing this. So we're going to stick with this book, though. We're going to stick with issue 7 because not only does it have this 1 in 50, it had some more. It had some more. It also had a 1 in 100. This Spidey Young, this Rocket Raccoon. Yes, Spidey Young covers. They're pretty cool. They're another little niche collection, collector hobby that people have out there, but not often are they actually ratio incentives. A lot of times they're just kind of like B covers or C covers, but this is a 1 in 100. So this is a high ratio incentive for Spidey Young. This Rocket Raccoon. It's a pretty cool cover. Like I said, I wouldn't mind having it. But this Spidey Young 1 in 100, again, details are all still the same. So print run's still the same, the 68,000. So a 1 in 100 on this is going to only be about 686 copies. So it's not that many when you think about it. So it's not going to be an easy Spidey Young for you Spidey Young collectors. 27 in the census with 29 9.8s and then a few others. This thing also doesn't sell for cheap. 150, $100. So it's at ratio plus. So you're not getting this one at a discount like you are those 1 in 50s that we just looked at. This is going to be ratio and more. And the asking price is, well, there's only one out there, and it's asking 190. So it's almost asking double ratio. And once again, if I know I've been asked this question before, but just for those who are maybe watching for the first time who don't know, when I say ratio, I mean if the ratio is a 1 in 100, so a store had to order 100 copies to get one issue of this, usually they price it at ratio, which would be 100 because it's 1 out of 100. They had to order 100 to get one of these. So that's what I mean when I say a ratio. But here's the rub. I still don't know how these would have played out because this one, again, has another 1 in 100. So like the 1 in 50s before with the Campbell and the Granoff, I don't know how stores could have ordered these because maybe they would have chosen Spidey Young over the Sarah Pacelli because there is a 1 in 100 Sarah Pacelli here with Angela on the cover on this issue 7. This is again another 1 in 100 for this same issue 7. So October 2013, details all still the same, I guess, with the incentive, I guess, being 686 as well, because maybe you can get one of each. I don't know. Again, if you know, you're a dealer, you know the answer to that question. If there's two 1 in 100s, do you get to order both? Do you only get one? Do you have to pick? You got to choose? How does that work? But the census on this one is about 25, 23 9/8, and then 2 9/6. So I think it's pretty close still to the Scotty Young. But no copies have sold on this one within the last 3 months. And as far as asking prices go or copies available, there is only one, and it's a 9/8, and it's asking $2,000. I don't know. This is the only one I could find. $2,000 is a pretty steep ask, but it could be valid. I don't know. You make the call. You tell me. All I know is when I look for this book, I can only find one, and they want $2,000 for it. So that said, we talked about a lot of books, and a lot of these have had multiple copies. So I've got a big pile of hard to find from most of these Guardians and all of the Spideys. When you look at it, these all had at least 3 to 4, 5, 6, half dozen copies. So there are copies to be had of these books. Some of them are expensive. Some of them are not expensive. But all of them are, at the very least, they're hard to find. They're not ghosts, at least in my humble opinion. That's the call I'm making this week based on what's out there right now, this moment in time. And based on this moment in time, just those last two, those two 1 in 100s for issue 7 are the only ones I can feel comfortable this week, at least, calling ghosts, because they each had one copy available. A raw of that Scotty Young asking 190 and $2,000 on a 9/8 for that Sarah Pacelli. Prices notwithstanding, there's still only one of each out there. So with that, I feel comfortable calling them ghosts. So let me know what you think in the comments. Make some suggestions. Let me know some other books you might want to see here on this show. I appreciate you all stopping by and checking this out. I'm still having a hell of a good time doing this. Check out the memberships options if you are interested. Check out the giveaway on hidden gems that I talked about yesterday. Check out tomorrow, the tax show, when we finish up our action hero tier list. Come be a part of the conversation and let us pick out who the greatest action hero of all time is via tier listing. And with that all said, I still got plenty more content coming your way. Hopefully you're still on board for the ride. Thank you all, and I will see you soon. All right, later.